Hi, Todd. Oh, you're muted. You're still muted.
How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good. Well, thank you for standing in for us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Elaine, do you know you're still listed as the contact on our board roster?
You know, no.
How do you feel about that? I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, Katie and I work closely together, and so I do get some communication here and there, and then I forward it to her. But we can see about having her listed as the primary contact.
Well, you know, we're just one big happy family.
I know. I'm happy to sit in.
I don't know if anybody even remembered that there was a meeting, so I'm gonna text everybody real quick.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad. I was just telling Katie yesterday, it looks like a full agenda.
Yeah, it always is. And if it's not full, I think we spend too much time talking about things, but I have one of my board members is coming in at 3:45, so we can't go more than an hour 45 today. Sherry and Michelle.
And Sharon has joined.
Hello.
And Jessica. Hi.
I tried to share my screen, but it looks like I don't have permission to do that. We're going to do the presentation on the youth sector.
I don't know. You want to send it to me?
I can do that.
And then I can share it. If you send it to Elaine, ELAINE.
Okay, great.
.pitpit, PITPIT at sdcounty.ca.gov.
Got it.
And then I can go ahead and open it and pull it up, and I can advance or, do whatever you need.
Great.
So I need to.
I've not received it yet, but sometimes it takes a couple minutes.
Okay. Just 1 second.
Okay, send everybody a text message.
Sounds good. Okay, and then as soon as I get the content, I can share it.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a couple minutes when it comes from someone outside the county.
Oh, I'm with the county.
Oh, you are? Okay, well, that should be fast then.
And then I know that Kate usually spends a little time getting Michelle connected. I don't know if she's accustomed to getting connected now. Kay, do you think Michelle would need
Well,
any
I do. She can connect because she has a special device now that will help her click on the Zoom link. But she needs assistance reading the minutes. And I think Kate calls her before the meeting and reads the minutes to her. Is what she does. But that's okay. We can go through them today.
I know Kate did send out a reminder yesterday.
Okay, good.
Okay, it is not letting me share either. Let me go back out and try to log in as Katie and see if I can share that way. I think it might only be set up for Katie to share, so let me log in as her. Unless has
It's
any,
giving me the option to share the screen. Oh no, it says host disabled.
yeah, that's what I got too.
Huh.
So let me see if I can log out. Unless has anyone else ever shared? Todd, have you shared anything?
Let's see. It says that I'm not the host either. Looks
Yeah,
like
let
we've got.
me try. Let me log out and see if I can just log in as Katie, if that'll make a difference.
Oh,
I'll be
there is something here that says claim host. So actually stay where you are, Elaine. Go to the participants
okay.
and then see if at the bottom, do you see a button that says claim
Well,
host?
yeah.
See if you
Let me
can
try
do
it.
that.
Enter host key.
Uh-oh.
Well, hold on. Katie did give me something. Hold on. Let's see.
And then while she's doing that, we see some phone numbers ending in 7290. Who is that?
This is Sherry Cantibara.
Oh, hi, Sherry. Thank you. And then we see a number ending in 6858.
That's me, Jessica Kramer.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you. Just want to make sure we have notes of who all's on.
And we do have a quorum, right? There's only 6 active members now. So we should, but we'll wait a few more minutes. We'll see if either Michelle or Susie come on.
Let me see.
I just got a text from Michelle with the Zoom link, so I imagine she'll be here.
Oh, I actually sent that out.
No, I got, never mind, I see.
Yeah, that did not work to claim host. So let me log out and see if I can log in as Katie. I'll be right back.
All right, I'm going to call Michelle. Because she wanted to present today.
No. Let me try one more thing.
Well, Jessica and Sherry, do you think we should get started?
Whatever. I'm always open.
Okay,
Likewise.
we'll do that and we'll go through the minutes. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And it looks like we have some county representation. So we'll start with introductions. I'll go first and then we can just go around the screen. I'm Kay Kelly. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Development for Home and Guiding Hands, which is a local nonprofit that helps individuals with intellectual disabilities such as Down syndrome or severe autism. We have about 4,000 clients that we serve. We have a unionized workforce. We have 800 people on our payroll, and we serve all of San Diego and Imperial counties. And Sherry, you can go next.
I'm Sherry Kanzibara, and I have my doctorate in education with an emphasis on leadership for change. I worked for 17 years for a nonprofit similar to Kay's with people with developmental disabilities, and I was the regional director and oversaw many programs, including employment, transportation, living services, day programs. And I think that's me in a nutshell.
Great. And Jessica?
I'm Jessica Kramer. I am the founder of a nonprofit that helps disabled people meet their basic needs. I'm very passionate about disability rights in 911 and law enforcement and the unique ways that we can apply the Americans with Disabilities Act in that sector. And I've recently become a part of the HEAL network through the San Diego Housing Federation, which is a group of people with lived homeless experience using their voice to help shape policy in a more compassionate and efficient manner. And I'm really, really glad to be here.
All right, Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Thompson. I am a part of the Live Well youth sector as one of the 2 youth advisors. And our goal is to bring youth voices into local government.
Well, congratulations and welcome. And Tara?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tara Beeston. I'm with the County of San Diego, and along with Sharon and Andrew and our other youth advisor are leading up the youth sector, and we're really excited to share more about that with you in a little bit.
Good. And Todd?
Hello, everyone. I am the ADA coordinator for County of San Diego. And then I am, as in that role, I serve as staff support for the Committee for Persons with Disabilities. Thank you. Oh, looks like we've got Michelle. That's great.
Yeah, Rakina is going to hop on too. She just finished with her classes. And Elaine?
Hi, Elaine Pitt with County of San Diego Department of Human Resources. I am with the Benefits Division and work in an admin capacity here for the committee with taking the minutes and whatever other assistance is needed.
And Sharon?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Hughes. I'm an analyst with the Live Well San Diego support team, where the youth sector lives, as you'll learn a little bit more in our presentation.
Great. And Michelle, we're doing introductions. You're last but not least.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Thank you. Sorry, it took me a bit to find it in my text. That's my own fault, not Katie's. Michelle Krug, just a disability advocate, as well as some other quality of life issues. I'm blind, so it's a lived experience daily. Thanks.
Thanks. And Michelle, did anybody call and read the minutes to you?
Katie did.
She did.
There was, I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was something that I was gonna question on it. Not that it wasn't accurate, but just to follow up on. I've forgotten now what it was.
We have a couple things. There was the concern that Susie had about the extension of the parking spaces, but it looks like that's already been approved. And then there was my update on Kaiser closing their entrances. And then there was the potential committee represumption on county strategic planning and various boards. Was it one of those?
It was two things. It was a Susie thing, but it wasn't even, it was just to share that the San Diego City just passed an ordinance, but I think that we could have this afterwards as a further conversation, because I did speak at that time. They're not aware, and I think I'd like the committee to have a conversation about what we might be able to suggest for actual, monitoring
Okay.
of those spaces related to the outdoor space. The city of San Diego just passed it within the last 2 weeks.
Okay,
And
so
then
we
the other
can talk.
one,
We can
the other
definitely
one,
talk.
the last one was just about what you did just say about the different county committees. And yes, we can talk about it later.
Okay, so then I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve.
All right, and a second,
I'll second it. This is Sherry.
and all in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Bye.
All right, great. The next item on the agenda is non-agenda comment for members of the public. Wait, am I looking? I'm not looking at the right. Yes, I am looking at the right thing. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our presentation.
So I'm gonna bring up one thing, because actually Katie told me to bring it up during non-agenda public comment, even though it's not, it's a committee member, but it's not on our agenda. I also would like to add to a possible conversation about how the county is set up to do its meetings and challenges to accessibility right now. And it is a conversation I'm going to have with Andrew Potter, but I'd like it to be brought up before the committee as well.
Okay, great. Now, do we need to, Elaine, do we need to make that an agenda item, or can we discuss that during non-agenda comment?
I would think we could discuss it, because it's something that Michelle is going to be bringing up to Andrew regardless.
Okay. So Michelle, do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure, and I'll make it succinct, because I know it was not part of our agenda. I recognize that, but it's been challenging to get on the County Board of Supervisors meetings. First, there was a whole issue of their listening line not working for months. And it would work for literally a minute and then not. And now it is working, but the way to speak on an item is set up is impossible for someone like myself to do independently. And what I would love them to consider, and again, I will be doing my own lobbying directly with each of the supervisors, but I would like them to do what the city of San Diego does. That they have it on a Zoom. If you wish to speak about an agenda item, you raise your hand. It's that simple. Whether you're on the phone, on a landline, you can do it on a landline, or because you just push *9, or you can do it on regular Zoom. It's the most accessible way to be able to, for the public to be able to participate in an agenda item. The way it's set up right now, I need to get help. I need somebody to, read to me every item, to know which item number, and then to have somebody sign me up through the internet, wait for them on their own email, because I can't access it and they have no way to just send it to me like on my phone. They need to get it on their email and then tell me what the code is. And again, it's something I have to struggle to try to memorize in addition to the conference call number. So the way it's set up with the city of San Diego, there's no memorizing that's needed. And the other challenging thing, the way the county has it set up, is that you can only sign up for one item at a time. So it's, whether it's his staff in the clerk's office or whether it's a friend, if I want to speak on 7 or 8 items, which is not unusual when they have 38 items on an agenda, then I have to ask my friend to literally write that request, 7 or 8 or 12 different times. And then I have to try and remember what numbers they are. So it's not unnecessary for it to be that difficult. One, the form for everybody, honestly, should be that they can sign up for non-agenda public comment and any of the agenda items on one sheet. They shouldn't have to write every single different item. And number 2 would be that they set it up just straight on the Zoom meeting, similar to what the city of San Diego does, so that somebody doesn't have to, have somebody do it well in advance and all of that, because someone who's blind or somebody that doesn't have a computer is not going to be able to do it for him or herself. That's all.
Can I step in here real quick? This is Jessica Kramer.
Sure, Jessica.
So access for various disabilities for people to be able to participate in council and is a very passionate subject of mine. And it's something that I've had to navigate intensively to be able to participate fully in the city of Carlsbad City Council meetings. So I am very, very eager to work on this. And I'd love for us to try to develop some kind of best practices that we could consider applying to not just the city and the county and the board of supervisors, but, every city and, every type of county connected
Every
meeting.
governmental agency. That's how I'm wording it.
Yeah, thank you.
Boards, water agencies, etc.
Perfect. I love that, Michelle. So I'm really eager to work on this. I'm not familiar with how the city and the county go, but I'm very familiar. Actually, I'm familiar with the county board of supervisors, but I'm very familiar with the way things work in Vista and Carlsbad, and it's very inaccessible.
This is Rakina. I just want to chime in and say I love that idea. I know, Michelle, if you'll recall, like even looking at sometimes the San Diego Unified School Board meetings and trying to get that information, we've gone through the steps and it was like, why is this so complicated?
Exactly. So maybe we want to make this an agenda item moving forward, or I don't know what makes sense. Okay.
What would make sense, Todd? Yeah, we should put this on next month's agenda. And then Todd, if you can identify someone at the organization that would be responsible for implementing or researching a more user-friendly approach, maybe we can ask that person to join us next month.
Yeah, I think from what I'm hearing, I think it'd be helpful to have someone out of Clerk of the Board of Supervisors who handles that to maybe hear and see if they understand the specific request. I'm hearing to make it simpler. I don't know the technology to do that. I'm not certain if there's someone in the clerk of the board who would be knowledgeable about that, or if it's someone in our technology office. So this is a great request, I just don't know
Who did?
what
So-
the action steps to take necessarily. So we'll, but I think it's great because Michelle, you do a great job of getting the information over to clerk of the board. And so if you can reach out to your contacts there, and then I'll circle back through the internal and see if we can start moving something along that. But it definitely sounds like there's an opportunity for some improvements.
Sounds
So
good.
my request would be that the first person that be asked actually is Andrew Potter. I would like him directly. That would be the ideal person, because I've talked to the other people and they all tell me it's up to him. And I haven't heavily pursued it. I know he's had his hands full, and I like him. It's not, I haven't heavily pursued this. I have somewhat pursued it. And his answer was, well, you can call my staff. I'm directing them, because at first his staff wouldn't even do it. His staff was really, whatever the word is. Their attitude was, and she said it, that's not my job. You need to go find someone. Don't you have somebody living with you and helping you? And I was like, oh my God. So he did hear about that, and he did, recognize that that was totally inappropriate. And I'm sure he spoke to the person, but it was just the I don't think I should have to, and it's not just me, because I think everyone on this call knows that I'm gonna get it done one way or the other. But how many people don't, just get stopped? For me, it's like a pain, but it's not gonna stop me. For
Right.
most people, it's gonna stop them.
Right.
And so I would like him to address it and hear how that is challenging from others. And I also would like it that maybe the technology person, but truthfully, I have to tell you, Todd, I don't think it takes any technology. They are on Zoom. All they need to do is allow the callers in, just like the city of San Diego. Liz Malin, who I adore and love, the city clerk in the city of San Diego, has never, doesn't use any special technology. It's a Zoom meeting. People can call into the Zoom meeting, and all they have to do is raise their hand. It's not asking for anything extra. That's the ideal.
Oh, okay. So then it's more of, it sounds like it's more of a procedural request, is to be able to, instead of following the procedures that we have of calling in and giving advance notice of that you're going to be calling in, or et cetera, that to just be able to dial in, raise your hand, and be recognized.
Right. Or in my case nowadays, because I have a smartphone, I'm able to actually just click on the Zoom link and get in. So I don't have to memorize anything. But out of fairness to you, before you approach it, I want to be fair what your pushback is going to be. So one, I think that they may have a thought that somehow it's more secure, because they literally change their code every single meeting. I think that's crazy. City of San Diego, once they established Zoom, which is at least 9-10 months ago, they have never changed the Zoom link. It stays the same. So it's saved in my phone. All I have to do is access it when I'm available to do so. It doesn't change. The county literally makes you fill out that paper on the computer that says, I want to speak on item 12. And then they literally send you every single meeting. It's not even the same Tuesday and Wednesday. Every meeting, they send you a brand new 9-digit code in addition to the phone number. The phone number stays the same, but the code does not. And that's super hard to have to access it and to get somebody, to put it on a computer so that so they can give it to me. So I think the pushback might be that they're worried about security, but I would say talk to the city of San Diego, because they honestly have many more people calling in than the county does. And they've had over 400 people calling in on one budget item, the police one. So,
Okay, so Todd's gonna look into that, and we're gonna put it on next month's agenda.
okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna.
Sorry, one quick comment. I love when when an agency can provide such good customer service that you don't need an ADA accommodation. That's what it sounds like the city of San Diego has figured out.
Good point. All right, now we have Andrew Thompson, our youth representative from Live Well, who's going to give us a presentation. And Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you heard about the program, where you're from, how old you are, what your interests are.
Sounds good. So, hello everyone. I'm Andrew Thompson. I am currently 19 years old. I found out about the Live Well youth sector from my local library. I oftentimes visit there with my mom and my dad. They really instilled into me reading and using all of the accessible resources that I had at our local library. And so we would go almost every 2 weeks to get new books and refresh library resources and talk to the staff. And then I found one of the flyers when they recommended it to me, and then I applied for the position. But I originally started off as a youth leader, as one of our very many youth leaders, before I managed to promote up into a youth advisor position. But it has brought forth many opportunities, and I'm always forever grateful for it. But yes, I am currently 19, about to enter my sophomore year of college. But our average ages in this program are ages from 16 to 24. So we are a diverse group of youth individuals.
Very nice. And are you giving us a presentation today, or will one of the staff be doing that?
One of the staff will be doing that. And we will be giving a presentation along with my two other co-workers, Tara and Sharon.
And
Okay.
unfortunately, we don't have the screen share capability right now.
Okay.
Elaine, I did send the presentation to you. It might work if we just send it to the group and kind of follow along. We definitely have talking points for each of the slides, but a lot of it is visual, and it may kind of help to kind of follow along on the slides as we go.
Well, it's interesting because two of us are on the phone and one of us has a sight impairment. So only half of us are going to be able to see the visual aid. So it would be really helpful if you could try to verbalize as much of it as possible.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thanks for letting us know that too.
So Andrew, you want to kick us off?
Yes, I can. So hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having me and my team present on youth engagement on your board and commission. Once again, my name is Andrew Thompson, and I'm one of the 2 youth advisors that help run the youth sector. And so I'm also here with my 2 co-workers, Tara and Sharon. So if they would also like to introduce themselves.
Everyone, again, my name's Tara, and I am with the Live Well San Diego Youth Sector.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Hughes, again with the Live Well San Diego support team and co-leading the youth sector.
Yeah, and so before we begin talking about the discussion about youth engagement on boards and commissions, we would love to give you a quick overview of our program and how it is structured.
So the Live Well San Diego Youth Sector was created last year to amplify youth voices. That's our overarching goal, to create youth-led opportunities to support youth in addressing issues that are important to them and to inform youth-serving programs and services. Our goals are to collaborate and cross-thread, to serve as a hub for existing and developing county programs, and to engage young leaders to give them a voice throughout our county organization. Our outcomes are to empower and engage youth, to collaborate and connect youth, not just with each other, but with their local governments, to really demystify what local government is, and ultimately to develop the future of the county workforce. So our youth sector has 5 components. The first one is outreach and recruitment. So we recruited 2 youth advisors. Andrew is one of them, Lauren is our other, to guide the youth sector, the development and the implementation of the youth sector. And then we also recruited 15 youth leaders to go through a 1-year program, participating in the following 4 components. So they spent the first few months, we brought them on just in March, so it's been about 6 months or so. They spent their first few months learning all about the county. We had lots of presentations from the different programs, and again, just demystifying what government is, what government does. Many of them said, oh yeah, I've seen that logo on this building or on this letter that my family got, and it's great to see them kind of putting it all together, what the county does. So they learned all about the county as well as leadership and professional development skills. Our next component is about mentorship and internship. So they are currently participating in a summer program of internships with county staff from various different departments, learning different skills and providing input into various different programs. Another component we have is engagement on boards and commissions. So that's why we are here to talk to you today. We're going to talk more about that in a second. And lastly, they're developing communication systems to inform the larger community of young people in San Diego of all of the different resources and opportunities available to them.
All right.
I did send out the slide deck, but it is large. So it's 10 megs. So that's why it takes a little while to get around to those people who have access to get to it. If I were at home, I'd never get it because my bandwidth is so small. But hopefully you'll be getting it in a few seconds.
Great. Thanks so much, Todd. And for those following along, we'll be on slide 4. And even if you aren't able to open it right now, you can review it afterwards. So like Tara mentioned, today we're going to be talking more in depth about our 4th component, which is youth engagement on boards and commissions. Our goals for integrating young people on boards and commissions is to really improve the decision-making by incorporating youth perspective into discussions that are happening in these meetings, in these rooms. We also want to foster meaningful youth participation through youth and adult collaboration. And we'd also love to give young people an opportunity to be mentored by local leaders and really foster them into tomorrow's leaders. So first, to support our youth leaders in meaningfully engaging in these meetings, we started by offering board-related trainings. Tara mentioned some of these trainings that we talked about in that second component, but we also expanded those trainings to talk about the Brown Act. We went over Robert's Rules of Order, and we invited speakers that are parts of boards and commissions and other county leadership to really talk to our youth leaders about the importance of having youth voice in these spaces. As you know, a lot of times it's an intimidating environment, and youth just need a little bit of extra encouragement and empowerment to be able to kind of voice their opinions in some of these spaces. So as of last month in July, our youth leadership team began attending these board and commission meetings. Based on their personal interests, they choose 2 per month to attend, and they'll continue to attend 2 per month going into the rest of the year. And then after attending those meetings, they also share amongst themselves the successes in attending, challenges, different best practices during our weekly team meetings that we have together.
So we have met with several boards to discuss different ways youth engagement may look for each group. These meetings have given us insight into what support boards need when engaging youth and different models for youth participation. Some boards have voiced and are motivated to change bylaws and give youth a voting seat during meetings. Others have proposed the ideas like having youth serve on subcommittees, creating a designated youth committee, or inviting youth to participate in public comment when appropriate. Incorporating youth engagement can be very different depending on given boards and commissions, and we are here to lend support so the youth can engage in your board effectively.
All right, so through these meetings that we had one-on-one with a lot of the boards and commissions, we gathered input from those members and also youth about best practices for how to support young people as they engage with boards and commissions. We have 4 of them that we'll share today. The first one is to ensure that youth are seen as valued members of the group and that their voice really carries equal effectiveness in the boardroom or in the meeting. As discussed on the previous slide, boards are finding a variety of ways to do this really well. The examples that Andrew gave. When inviting young people to board meetings, there also may be youth-focused modifications that we can make, such as adjusting the time of the day of meetings. A lot of times they're met in the middle of the day, or and that's kind of when the young people are in school, they have other things going on, they may be at their own jobs, and so really adjusting times is one of the best practices. Also allowing, when it is allowed by law, holding virtual meetings, because we know that it's also a barrier for young people to travel to meetings. A lot of them don't have transportation, or transportation is a barrier. And also taking time to introduce attendees of the meeting at the beginning so they kind of understand who's in the room. I know that this commission did that really well at the beginning of the meeting, but we've heard from some of our youth that have attended larger meetings that no one introduced themselves. They didn't really know who was in the room. The young people weren't acknowledged, and it was just a little bit more confusing for them. Our next best practice is offering active guidance to youth by assigning them a board member to meet with them before and after meetings to ensure that they really understand what the agenda topics are about, and really just ensure meaningful engagement about those agenda items. We know that a lot of times there may be history and context that come with different agenda items, so really meeting to talk about those things can help them be more engaged. So board members can also work with young people to help prepare some remarks and think of some input that they can share during the meeting, and really being able to kind of talk to a board member and be empowered by them before the meeting is really helpful. We've heard from some of our young people that there was a topic that was being discussed. They felt like they had input, but they weren't empowered to talk about it or say it, voice their opinion. So just having some extra encouragement, maybe some suggestions from board members about where and when the appropriate time is to give input is really helpful. And then lastly, creating space for youth to speak and collaborate can be a best practice as well. After providing the context and support to participate, it's helpful to specifically make spaces for them to share their prepared input and ask them to speak. As the youth leadership team meets together weekly, we practice that, but it's also great for young people to like I said, meet with the board members, meet with each other, and really have that space that's created for them to voice their opinion so they're not competing with other voices.
Can everyone make sure you're muted unless you're speaking?
It's
Susie?
Susie.
Susie, it looks like it, yeah.
I'm
If you
sorry,
can-
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm
hear you.
stuck in the elevator in my building, and I don't
Can
know
you
when they're
mute?
gonna get
Can you mute the phone?
Let's do that. I just wanted to get in and tell you where I am. Bye.
You're stuck in the elevator?
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's all standing here waiting to go up. So
oh my goodness. Well, hopefully you can get out soon. But yeah, okay, yep. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
No, you're totally good. I hope you get out safely, Susie. But with that, thank you so much for allowing us the time to share and work, share our work on the youth sector. And so if you would, we would love to talk with you more about if and how your board would like to engage with young people. So in the future, if you have any questions, please contact us through our email. And our email is the livewellyouth at sdcounty.ca.gov. We would love to hear your questions now or offline and discuss the ideas and goals your board has for youth participation. Also, if you want to see some of our work that our youth are doing, please check out our Instagram, which is livewell_SD, or our TikTok, which is livewell_San Diego, where we share resources for youth across the county. Lastly, we have an e-blast that you can sign up to stay informed about our youth sector. That is done through the interest form on our website, which is, I believe, livewell.sd.org
/youth.
/youth. Thank you, Sharon. But thank you again for your time today.
Good question.
Mhm.
How long is your term? How long are you appointed for?
So the structure of the youth sector is Sharon and I as full-time county employees, and then our 2 youth advisors, and then our 15 youth leaders. So they're not appointed per se. They are youth leaders and youth advisors are all county employees. They're either student workers or temporary expert professionals. And our youth leaders serve a 1-year term from March through March. And then our youth advisors serve as long as they can until they move off to college or get a new job or something like that.
That's good. I think it's wonderful that you're including the youth and you're at the table and your discussions, and I think it's great to do that. And I really appreciate you coming and introducing yourself to us today. And we might have some projects that we'll reach out to you on and call you about.
It looks like Michelle has her hand up.
Yeah. You want me to go next? Because I only have one device in my whole life. I did have several questions. I'm assuming so it sounds like all of the youth involved in this program are paid because they actually had county titles. How many hours do they work per week? And then I would like to talk about us. I think our committee would be happy to have someone joining us, and obviously anybody can join at any time, can, be privy to what we're talking about. But I think it would be great to have them see what the work is and where the challenges are in this committee. But how many hours do they work, and how are the hours put together when they're coming to meetings like this?
Mhm. Thanks, Michelle, for the questions. So I'll give you just a tiny bit of background. In developing the youth sector, we reached out to youth-led organizations and youth-serving organizations around the region. We had, I think, over almost 40 listening sessions to kind of talk about what this should really look like. And what we heard, it was kind of a resounding request for this to be very flexible, because young people are often pursuing other interests. They're often, in multiple leadership opportunities. They have a lot going on. They may have another part-time job. And so they did request for this to be a part-time position. Our youth advisors, they are temporary expert professionals, and their time is 20 hours a week throughout the whole year. So as long as they're with us, they are 20 hours a week. And then for the youth leadership team, the youth leaders, their year changes throughout the year, I guess, depending on the time of the year. So in the beginning, we do about 5 to 10 hours a week. And that is basically from March through June, or up to June. And that's really where we're doing a lot of the training components. We're meeting multiple times a week. And that's also a lot of times when they're in school. They may have part-time jobs, like I mentioned. We didn't want to restrict this to only people that are in school or are college bound. So we definitely recognize that, some of our youth are not going to be going to college or not in college. But for those that are in school, it really helps them to have a lesser schedule or lesser hours during those months. And then over the summer, we kick it up to 20 hours a week. So they're doing their mentorship and internship for up to 20 hours. And then throughout the rest of the year, in the fall and the end of the winter, or the rest of the winter, they go back down to between 5 hours and 10 hours a week. So it's really just catering to young people's schedule and kind of their seasons that they're in, to make this flexible enough for them to participate over the whole year.
So if they were to attend our meeting, that those 2 hours would be part of their 2 hours, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So each of our components, we're kind of allocating a certain amount of hours per week that they can allocate to those efforts. And boards and commissions is one of our really important components, and we give them the hours to be able to attend 2 meetings a month.
And I'll just add that issues of accessibility and equity resonate really strongly with young people. This new cohort of socially minded, active young people that is coming up these days. So if you do have specific projects that you're interested in having some youth input on, definitely let us know. We can connect you with our young people. Or if you are interested in creating a youth seat on your board, we'd love to explore whatever your goals might be for incorporating youth voice into the work that you're doing.
I just wanted to quickly ask, because I did hear you say something about internship, and I'm just wondering if, because I worked for the city 30 years, and we had a lot of internships where there were students that were there for 3 to 6 months to get a flavor of a particular department. It was very flexible, as you said. And I'm just wondering if that might be something, without it having to actually create a youth position, it might be something that could be, and because that's going to take changing the rules that we are regulated under, as opposed to having an internship that we just had somebody coming in and participating with us. It would obviously have to be someone that had an interest in our particular board, but I can't see that anybody on this call wouldn't welcome that.
We certainly would want as much participation as we can, especially as it relates to some of our initiatives with accessibility and mobilization. The average appointment for us is the duration of a supervisor's term. And so I don't know that the short-term assignments would work well with the long-term projects that we're working on. However, and we certainly would like to have visitors and participation on an ongoing basis if you have any youth that are interested. And if you stay online after the presentation, we're going to delve into the business part of our meeting, and you can just sit in and listen to some of the things that we talk about and some of the things that we're working on.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a really great point. We also, when meeting with boards and commissions, we've had at least a dozen meetings, and they've also said there's just different, I guess, timeframes for appointments for if you're going to be a voting member on a board and commission. A lot of them, we heard up to 4 years, and that's definitely a very long time for young people. They're doing a lot of things. They may be moving away. They may be getting new jobs. And so we're kind of providing this time this year with them as an opportunity to really get engaged in those boards and commissions that they really feel interested in, that they're passionate about, that they feel like they can really resonate with and give meaningful input to. And once they're done with this year with us, if that's something that they are particularly motivated to continue on, then we're definitely going to encourage that. So love what you said. It may not be a good fit for everyone, but we're really encouraging them and giving them an opportunity to get involved, learn more, be paid while they're doing it, and kind of gauging interest in how continued participation will look.
Good. Okay, are there any more questions from the committee before we move on to our strategic initiatives? Yes.
Kate, could you make sure that we have their contact information? Would you be willing to send out an email blast?
I think it's on the slides that she sent. Let me check.
And a phone number. I actually want to make that comment. The very first thing that the young man said was, "Oh, email us." And you have to be aware of what group you're walking into. You're walking into a person with disabilities. You have to presume people cannot necessarily use email. So the presumption should be giving all the possible options. And you also had said, one of you had said something about when they walk, they don't always feel empowered, like in a group, to talk. And I was just going to say that that's part of it, or they don't know who's in the group. Part of it is doing your homework. And as an organizer, instinct, and always has been, I'm going to look up, which you can do. You can see every single person. You can Google them. I did it before I ever came to my first meeting. You know, you can do your part of that is doing your homework. We also need to be completely welcoming. I know that, and I always try to be. But in addition, it's helpful for it, you know, for people to take on for themselves, do their homework, see who's on that board, see what they're walking into. The agendas are available. You can listen to old meetings. So just that should be a team effort to have them incorporate. And I would love to have some youth coming and participating. We're a very low-key, pretty informal group, honestly. There's not a lot that's an actual vote. And mostly it's listening to people and hearing their input.
Susie, can you mute yourself?
Christ almighty.
Susie.
No, he's not going.
Susie. Okay, so we are going to move on then to strategic initiatives. Elaine, is there a way that you should be able to mute her on your end?
She's
No,
not the
because
host.
I'm
We
not
don't
a
have a host.
host.
Oh, okay, I
Which
see.
is, it goes the same issue with not being able to present the slides. I should be able to, yeah, if I were a host, but
Got it.
Who is the
Okay.
host?
It's Kate.
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
but Katie's not here
I
today.
know.
So
I know. She's not here.
Okay, on strategic initiatives, I sent everybody the email, 2 emails, I think, over the past month and a half. And I had the opportunity to talk with some of the staff at the county and then Michelle a little bit about just going back to the basics of what the ordinance says. We have a very tall order according to our job description. And so perhaps I'd like to propose that we prioritize, as much as we would love to help the county with every single priority area they've identified, we're just not going to be able to do it right now because we don't have a full committee. And so what I'd like to do is first prioritize on filling the vacancies that we have on our committee roster. And then maybe reconnect in a few months. And I've kind of outlined three priorities, and I'm interested to hear your input on this. Priority number 1 would be to fill the vacant seats. Priority number 2 would be to serve as an advisory resource to the key county staff and departments that really need to interface with disabled populations so we can have the greatest impact possible when they're sitting at the table making their plans. And the third one would be just to make all of the county departments aware that we exist and that most of us do have disabilities and to use this as a resource.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you didn't like that, Susie? I think she has her phone down. Anyway, so it's filling the vacancies, making our presence known, and then us focusing on the departments and the areas that we really can make a difference.
Why
Hey,
is,
when we,
why is there a
Sorry.
need to like limit it?
Just Michelle, because like we discussed, there's so many areas. Todd, how many employees do you have approximately?
17,000, well, approximately 18,000 now.
And how many different departments?
54.
Okay, so the 54 departments and the 18,000 employees have come up with a 5-year plan of what's important to them. And I've read it, and it's just endless. So to answer your question, Michelle, I would rather focus our efforts on the areas where we can make an impact than try to help all 18,000 employees in 54 departments and have little impact, if any.
So I guess for me, I never saw our job as specifically helping just the county employees. And I was not aware of this 5-year plan. That probably would be helpful for me to get some kind of summary or something. There's probably an executive summary that exists, but that was never my idea that's why I was on this commission. In fact, my conversation with Nathan never said anything like that. It talked about the county offices as things come up being accessible and for them to be appraised of policies and items that are on the agenda that they are voting on and how that can affect the community out in the community. That's how it was described to me.
That is one of them. And just for clarification for our guests, I'm going to go through our ordinance job description. The committee shall have the responsibility to study and evaluate county charter provisions, ordinances, policies, proposed policies, and determine their implication for persons with disabilities. And that includes all 54 departments. Study areas of concern as they pertain to the lives and needs of persons with disabilities. And they include but are not limited to coordination of client support systems, health, education, employment, recreation, housing, transportation, and archaeological barriers. Architectural barriers. Conduct workshops for county personnel and community groups, participate in the conduct of public hearings, dealings with matters related to persons with disability, and utilize county resources and facilities to accumulate information for the purposes of furthering the objectives. Prepare and disseminate information of matters related to discrimination and prejudice. Formulate programs or legislation to promote and ensure independence, equal rights, and opportunities for all persons with disabilities. Provide liaison assistance to the county or citizen groups interested in the problems facing persons with disabilities. And serve as the county's advisory committee of Section 503 and 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the Disabilities Act of 1990. So, we have a really small committee, even if we were fully staffed to do all that, right? Even in 4 years, even if we had a fully staffed committee for the full duration of our term, it just seems like it's a lot. And then when we compound that with the counties, and the thrust of this, and they probably weren't doing their strategic planning, Michelle, when you came on board, but now they're renewing their 5-year plan, and it has all kinds of stuff in it that you and I did talk about briefly on the phone. And you're right, an executive summary would be very helpful. I would just like us to focus on some core areas right now, not to say that we couldn't delve into these things later, but I really think we should focus on recruitment and then introducing ourselves to the county at large.
You're talking about only county employees. It's not, and for me, my focus is outside of the county employees, to be honest. It's fine. Let other people, I don't know how other people are feeling about this or why they.
No, that's really good input.
So for me, I don't want to limit it. I get what you're saying. We can't do everything. Absolutely. 1000% I agree. But I do want to maintain our flexibility that when if something comes up next month, I don't want to say, oh, well, it's not in our strategic plan that we decided we're going to focus on right now. I just don't want to do that. I don't have any problem with us picking something and saying, can we work on this? What's the action plan we can do for this item? That's fine, but I don't want to limit it and call it our strategic plan, because to me, that's tying our hands.
I think we have to, though. I think the county departments are the connectors to the community. And I'll give you an example. If I'm going to complain about a restaurant and their lack of access, right? At some point that complaint is actually going to go to the health department or land up in Todd's lap. Or if there's an affordable housing issue, at some point those plans are going to be submitted to the planning department. And no matter what the issue is in the larger community, it will get connected back to some type of regulatory compliance that San Diego County oversees. And I think having those relationships and having the staff aware of the fact that they could use us as a resource, that they can call us. Maybe the planning department doesn't want to issue the permit, and they can call upon us, and we can show up at that meeting and say, this is why they shouldn't issue it. But I don't know right now that anybody over there even knows that we exist besides Elaine and Todd.
May I ask a question, Kay, just for clarification's sake? So it sounds like what you're saying to me is that we need to establish who's in our group, and then we can introduce ourselves to these departments, and then we can kind of go from there and see what we can do. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Or just offer ourselves as a resource.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ensure that the county staff and all of their departments and that all the stakeholders know of our existence and are aware of the resource, the tremendous resource that we bring when they're working on initiatives or making decisions. And I don't know that that's the case right now.
Hey, this is Elaine. I would agree with that most county employees are not aware of many of the committees, not just this committee, but the work that in particular this committee does. But yeah, I don't think it's well known. Definitely not.
And I'll speak in. So as we've had several of the departments to actually present to the committee, they have been pleasantly surprised by the input that they've gotten from the committee when they present, this is what we've done, or this is how we supported the persons with disabilities community during COVID-19 as part of the COVID-19 response. And then they got great input from you all that helped them run down issues and to understand issues and then be able to address those issues. As you saw with MTA, they enjoyed the input that you all had for MTA from a transportation standpoint. With regard to the aging and independent services, with regard to the meals and the distribution of social services. So I believe where Kay is going is to continue to do that. And of course, the mission says to conduct workshops and then to be out formulating programs and or legislation, et cetera. So there's a lot of things that the committee has the ability to do. I believe where Kay is going is there are some priorities that need to occur. One is fully staffing the committee so that you can take on more activities. And then in order to leverage the county, where Kay was going was, we have departments that are responsible, and this is what we talked about last in the call last month, was to leverage the departments that are responsible for transportation and give them advisory input on program services and activities that they can improve accessibility. As an example, right here, we talked about it today, where clerk of the board to offer input for clerk of the board on how meetings, how board of supervisors meetings might be more accessible. So I don't think I don't think the action items that Kay is communicating are limiting. I think they recognize the priorities that the committee might want to consider, and being able to, the more county departments that recognize that the Committee for Persons with Disabilities exist, then the more that they can come to the committee, to your committee, and ask, what are your thoughts about this idea or this topic or this program, much like the youth leadership presentation today. So I wanted to just add that from a perspective.
Thank you, Todd. I think you said
Very
it a lot
well
better than I
said.
did.
Yeah, very well said. It's definitely not a or, it's an and. Like the both can complement each other. I don't see it being the two issues being contradictory.
So there's no reason to call it our strategic plan. I have no objection to the specific things that were just mentioned. You know,
I
that
didn't call it a
continually.
strategic plan. I said priorities. I'd like us to prioritize membership and then making our presence known.
I think the reference to the strategic plan is the board, the county's strategic plan. Kay, when you sent that email out, I wasn't able to open up a file or an attachment or anything. I don't know if you were meaning to send the specific language out on the strategic plan in that email, but I wasn't able to find any data in there.
I copied everything. I copied it in the body of the email so people can read it on their phone. But it's
okay. Mine just didn't come through like that. It came through empty.
It might have been too much text. It's kind of a mute point right now. All right, I'm just going to tell you guys, I almost submitted my letter of resignation last week. This job is a lot of work. It is very time consuming. And I just said, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't have time for it. I don't have the support on the committee that I feel that I need. And I have other things to do. So, and my supervisor still hasn't appointed me yet 8 months into this. And, you know, Kate called me and she's like, you know, I think we should reach out to the supervisor again. And I had really harsh words for her and Todd. And I said, why would I continue after multiple times of applying and reaching out to various staff? Why would I continue to spend my time pursuing a volunteer position that clearly he's not interested in filling? So Todd said, you know what, just take a breather and let's talk about this next week. And when we were able to talk it through, you know, really the frustration is coming from the vacancies on the committee. And I feel like if the staff knew what an asset we were to the county, if the supervisors knew what an asset we are to the county, and what a great resource we are, we would get these positions filled. And I'm looking at the Board of Supervisors agenda for Tuesday, just so you know, and there's a million appointments on there from Supervisor Anderson. I happen to be one of them now because it looked like he just got really backlogged. And is now taking care of it. But Nora, I reached out to Nora's office. I emailed her, her public information officer. She sends out a great newsletter. And I said, look, you've got 2 vacancies. We would love just to put an announcement in your newsletter saying that we have this position open. And no one ever got back to me. I called and left a voicemail for them. No one ever got back to me. And so I get a little frustrated because I feel like we're running at half capacity and we have the potential to do a lot more work. But I do feel like the majority of the workload is falling on me. And you don't even know, the committee doesn't even know about all the work that gets done because I just never say anything about it. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I would really like to focus on building up the committee and introducing ourselves to the county.
I apologize, Kay. I just sent you a text because I'm supposed to be vice chair, and I think that my feeling was kind of like yours. And I apologize because I did not know how much was coming at you. But definitely, please share the wealth and put something on my lap. But I feel the same way, kind of like, well, how involved do I get? Because it's kind of tough to, as Kay said, like, you have a full-time job and then you're going to get started on all these other projects and get involved in these other things and then be told somebody else is taking this seat. Although I want to do whatever I can do for our community, at the same time, I want my investment of my time to be worthwhile.
Exactly. It's exactly how I felt.
So Kay, I also would ask you to share some of that because I don't know that. The only things I know is like when you did call and said, and you know, there was a miscommunication about that because I only knew about 4 items that had committees. I didn't know that each of them had a, you know, a category. And those are things that I would be happy to be partially delegating or partially, you know, to go through them because I can do that with friends and contact other committee members. You don't need to do this. That was honestly, that was one of the things like with Richard, where he did not share the information or didn't come back. And I don't want that. I want this to be a committee that actually works together.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, a team. And so here's what we have. We have 2 vacancies in Nora's seat. We have 2 vacancies in Jim's seat. Regina, it looks like we are, well, and that's the next item on ours, how we can reconfigure our seats. We have 1 vacancy in Tara's seat. So 50% of the committee is unfilled. And then I look at these committees, no offense towards the other committees, but I'm going to read some of them to you because I'm looking at this thinking, and you know, Nathan, my hat off to Nathan, that he really seems like he has his priorities in order. But I'm looking at some of these appointments that are on this upcoming agenda, and I'm thinking to myself, what on earth? Disability affects every single aspect of the county business. Every single aspect. It's just, it's no different than discrimination. Every single thing that they do, they're required by federal law, and I think morally, to take a look at these things. And this should be a priority for them. And for whatever reason, it's not. They're placing people on the, I can't even tell you the committees. They're, well, you probably know some of them, but they just seem to me like, compared to what we're doing, they're just not as important. And yet, you know, they're fully stacked. They're all full. And a lot of the,
There's 4 or 7 county committees. So it's not, just keep that in mind. That's all.
yeah, there's quite a few. And I understand a lot of them are special interests and, you know, they lobby for these positions, these appointments, especially as it relates to the different town boards and neighborhood commissions. But really, if you think about it, even they can't really effectively do what they need to do without some type of input and consultation from us. I mean, we could put the brakes on all of that if we wanted to, if we had the time to, if we were paying attention. And so even for a lot of these committees to even work effectively in their own right, they really need our blessing and our support to do their work. And I was thinking about going to the supervisors meeting on Tuesday and just giving them a brief little presentation, obviously not expressing any level of frustration, but doing some type of wording and telling them a little bit about the composition of the committee and the importance of the work that we do. Under public comment, I won't have a lot of time to speak, and I don't want to call anybody out, but I think I'm just going to go on the record and say District 1 and District 3 have been vacant for over a year. And we really need to do some type of recruitment.
So isn't isn't Jessica in Jim Desmond's district? Am I wrong?
Yeah, and it was not easy to get my position.
I know.
You know, yeah.
But
there's
Kate just, Jim Desmond had 2.
Oh, you know what, Jessica, we have you in Tara's district. Wait, are you 5 or 3?
I'm Desmond.
Which is
5. She is 5.
Okay, so Desmond is 5. Then Tara has 2 positions open. District 3 has 2 positions open.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm in, Michelle, you know Cipriano.
Yes, Cipriano is Tara's district, but
Exactly.
but I don't know who's speaking. But Jessica told me she's in Jim Desmond's district.
Well, we have Jessica and Sherry both in District 5 on our roster.
Yeah, I'm Jim Desmond, District 5, but I happen to work with Tara and Cipriano, District 3 on issues.
So Jessica's District 3 then, so we have to correct that on the roster.
No, I'm 5.
You're 5.
I'm 5. I am appointed by Desmond, but in my work, I have a lot of connection, way more connection with Tara Lawson Reamer than I do with Jim Desmond.
Got it.
And that's fine, but that's not, but you're both 5. So Jim Desmond is completely full.
And Tara is completely empty.
Yes.
Now she's the most engaging council person, and I think the area where we can have the greatest success if we want to help see those seats filled with important,
But you know what? I met with her. I met with one of her staff members on Zoom a couple months ago, and he said they had a lot of applicants and they were carefully considering them. And she's not put anybody forward for an appointment.
Yeah, you met with the guy with an S.
Spencer.
Look, I'm Spencer. Yeah, I'm actually. She has a new chief of staff that came on 2.5 months ago, Crystal Page, who actually knows her. So it's easy to call Crystal. She's not at all aware of this. That obviously, honestly, Kay, I have to tell you, the most important thing in that district right now is getting people vaccinated. It's not filling boards. And I know that that's where the focus has been with Universidad Popular. They're having at least 2 vaccines going out to the farms. That's where the focus needs to be. I know that you want to get these seats filled, but there are other, again, I'm not fighting against getting the seats filled. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. I do know what's going on in North County, and I know how many people have been dying at the Palomar Hospital. I know friends of mine that are literally out 4 days a week, 2 days with a vaccine clinic, 2 days knocking door to door. So
I definitely hear that. I appreciate that perspective, Michelle. I definitely got the impression, I spoke to Cipriano a couple weeks ago, and I got the impression that they are very interested in working on disability issues. I feel they have they're very easy to access. And I think that we definitely need to fill board seats in Tara Lawson Reamer's district.
That's fine. I'll put in a call to Crystal.
And just for clarification, can I just ask, is Supervisor Desmond has 1 vacancy, correct? There's only one.
He has none.
No, he has them both full.
Both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
can I send you our roster after this just to make sure it's the most up to date? Because I only show just Sherry and Supervisor Desmond's spot.
Are you looking at the roster that is connected, that is direct to the clerk of the board?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just looking at our files. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So apparently the fly abatement board is more important than ours because there are appointments on the upcoming agenda to fill those seats. And then, Tara's also going to fill the North County Cemetery position. And I don't want to do comparisons. I mean, I'm sure these boards do very meaningful work. But I don't know that I buy that everybody's just too busy as much as I think it's just probably not a priority, and it should be.
So to the point, would it help you if the committee members that could reach out to the supervisors, because you've already reached out to them, but to the supervisor staff, and we don't want 4 people calling the same well, maybe you do, but to delegate out for the committee members to help get that first item achieved.
I'm going to go to the meeting on Tuesday, and if we could, it would be very helpful if our disabled committee members could call and just have a chat with someone and say, it does appear 8 months into this that some of them just don't care about our issues. I mean, that's the appearance in my seat. That's the appearance. I've made multiple phone calls and, for lack of better words, have lobbied to get their attention on this. And even before, Michelle and I actually showed up to a supervisor meeting prior to COVID and asked for consideration. So it should be important to them. And we shouldn't have these vacancies this far into the process.
So your name is on
I'd like
for Tuesday. Your name is on, right, Kay?
Correct.
And is Rakina's name on?
Rakina's name is not on,
Okay.
but I believe that Rakina's name is not on because I told a staff person that we were probably going to move her into the at-large appointment position. So Monchel, who's not with us today, she probably, and I don't know that she was on last month's call, she's probably given up, so that Monchel could take that seat.
I thought that Monchelle was on last month's call, but if I am in at-large, then how do we confirm that I'm a part of the committee?
The committee gets to appoint that seat.
Yeah, the committee does. So it would be us basically moving you. And that one has no expiration. Is that right, Todd? It doesn't expire. And your vice chair position would
It has a
move.
2-year term.
Oh, 2 years.
Sorry, I was trying to get to the mute button. Yes.
And then your vice, so it would be 2 years from the time we appointed her, correct?
Yes.
Because it's showing your appointment expired in 2017. But you weren't really active before then. Okay, so
She wasn't contacted before then.
okay, so do we need to table this and then revisit it next month?
Yes, I think so.
And I'm gonna go ahead and resend the priorities that the county has in their strategic planning. And if we could have Kate or Elaine maybe call them, take some time to call and discuss it with Michelle or send an executive summary. I think actually what I have is the executive summary and it's still pretty lengthy. But I'm going to send that back out to the committee. And if you could take the time to look at it and at least identify some areas once we are fully assembled and identify some areas that you'd like to be involved in. After we're fully assembled, we can certainly reach out to those various departments and offer our expertise.
I would suggest we continue to do it right now. We don't have to be fully assembled to do that. And I do think that's a great idea. I absolutely think both directions, us asking them to come speak with us, and I'm happy to participate in setting up meetings within the departments as well. I think both of those are excellent ideas that absolutely are helpful. And I'm willing to work with both of those.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll table this and add it to next month's agenda, and I'll resend the materials. And then hopefully when I go present on Tuesday, it will prompt some of them to at least look at their applications. And then the next item on the agenda, Michelle, is you presenting AB 695 Elder Independent Adults.
Oh, to be honest, I meant to check to see where it is in the Senate. So they go back on Monday.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, when we left, when the vacation started, the state legislative vacation started on July 16th. It had just gone through a floor vote for the assembly, and it had passed the floor vote, and then it was being sent to the Senate. But to be honest, don't know if it's in a committee. I promise I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
I don't know where it is, and I know they don't go back. They had a month's vacation until August 16th.
Okay. And then the next item is the committee membership and administration. And I asked for that item because I wanted to see if I could get consensus to appoint Rakina to the at-large position. If you're willing to move. Okay.
I would move to do that. I just kind of thought that she would have been on Joel's radar, because when I had the last conversation, it was supposed to be both of you. That's what I was told.
Yes, and I told my contact over there that we had another potential candidate who I thought was really good, and that because the three of us couldn't serve, obviously, that either myself or Rakina could be moved to the at-large position. But now I'm on the agenda, so I don't think it should be me.
Well, I'm fine with it either way. I just like to be committed.
Yes, I feel you on that. Okay, so Michelle, did you make a motion to appoint Rakina to the at-large spot?
We can, I was gonna say that if we have an understanding that if it isn't placed on the agenda, because I was told it was, and I don't know if there's a mistake, but I'm wondering if, we could then next month, commit her to the other one if it didn't happen. Because I think it's gonna happen in either this upcoming board meeting or the one coming up after.
Okay, so we can table this for another month also. Yeah, he has about 20 appointments that he's putting in place. So it looks
And
to
they
me
may
like
have limited it, honestly, they may have limited it because of that, for this particular board meeting, and then in 2 weeks, they'll have another one.
Yeah, he has several appointments that he's putting forth. So, all right, we'll go ahead and table this and we'll discuss it again next month based on what he does for 2 more meetings. Well, obviously this meeting, it's not going to happen, but we'll wait 1 more supervisors meeting.
And then I would like to say, if that doesn't happen, Rakina, I have every intent of, that we then bring it up to move you. So I think you can feel committed leaving this meeting. I think you can feel that you'll be on one way or the other.
Thanks, Michelle.
We also need to reconnect with Monchelle. She did miss last month's meeting, and make sure that she is
She did.
okay. All right, well, the last item on the agenda is the next meeting, which will be September 10th. Is there any other discussion?
Okay, I'd like to go to the meeting on Tuesday and support with you. So I wonder if there's not a way we could hook up,
That's very nice. Thank you. Todd, how are they? Do they still have restricted attendance? I was going to ask you that offline. Or is it open now to the general public? Do you know?
It's open.
Okay. And
I couldn't hear.
I asked if they had a limited attendance or if it was open now to the general public. So 9 o'clock, the meeting starts. They're doing a volunteer recognition ceremony at 8 o'clock from 8 to 9 for different nonprofits. So I might go early just because I want to see that. And then the regular scheduled meeting starts at 9 o'clock, Jessica.
Okay.
So
yeah, I appreciate
already planning, and I'm happy to plan to speak in the non-agenda public comment on, well, not on the Zoom, but on the thing, on the format, whatever it is.
Okay, good.
I
So
just
that
want
would
to
give
say I
you
really
3
appreciate
people.
your guys's. Sorry, Michelle. I really appreciate your guys' support while I was navigating stuff with my mom, but I am back and that situation's resolved, and I've really looked at my own priorities and limited the things that I'm going to be focusing on to make sure that I can be really effective. And I'm very committed to this commission and speaking more with the Board of Supervisors and So I just want you to know, Kay, that I am like fully here with you. And even though I'm new at this, like, please understand that I am like 100% committed and here for the workload as well if you need anything.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. Thank you. I think we're going to do great once we get everybody in place.
Todd say about it? Limit.
Todd said there's no capacity restriction. We keep losing Michelle.
No, I heard you that time.
Okay.
Thank you, Kay.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend.
Wait, from the minutes. So when you had gone over those committees, and I know I said that I would be interested in being on the call for at least 2 or 3 of them. I don't remember them right this second. I realized I had not gotten any about, if it was a conference call, I didn't get any information about how to access those meetings, and those are now.
Okay, I think what she's talking about is the programs rental and utility assistance program, the rapid antigen test kit
Oh, can't you?
distribution, and the 211 vaccination for the homebound.
Right.
Now, were those committees that were, I was under the impression these were programs that were going on, and that was what I sent over was that these are programs that are going on, and whether the committee had any input on those programs. I wasn't aware that there were committees that were looking for people to sit on the committees.
We're starting.
No, so what happened was based on the complaints that our committee had expressed to the county staff about affordable housing, and they invited the affordable housing folks to come talk to us. Transportation, and we had 2 meetings, I think, where we had transportation, and then the last one was food insecurity, or I'm not really sure because it came from Susie. And Susie, if you're back, you can jump in here. But on what was perceived as the lack of availability for vaccines to the disabled population. And so those 3 areas that the committee expressed concern with, there are actually 3 programs, or there's a lot of programs, but there were 3 programs that the county is administering that I thought we could go directly to those programs and talk about our concerns. However, now the rapid antigen test kit distribution and the 211 vaccination appointment problems seem to have resolved themselves. Affordable housing, I don't know that that's going to go away anytime in the near future. But basically, Michelle, the areas that we have been focusing on, the affordable housing, transportation specifically, there are multiple departments and even other committees at the county that we could be working with. I would prefer that we are fully represented before we start, and that the county knows that we're fully represented and we're here before we start making those contacts. But if you want to make the contacts now and get a leg up on it, you're certainly welcome to. It's just not something I want to do without a full committee. And I think there are going to be other committee members that join us that might want to work on some of these things too.
So those 3 were not the ones I chose. If you remember, you and I through them.
You wanted to talk about food insecurity.
There was a few of them, and maybe I have to do this again offline with you, but there were 4 categories. Each of them had 3 to 4 bullet points that were supposed to be, my understanding, and maybe I misunderstood, was that there was an actual phone call that was happening at least monthly related to this particular subject. That's what I
Correct.
get on.
And I think that you should, because there's so many, I think that we should get you the executive summary from the county, and then you can really carefully go through each and every one of those, because food insecurity had like 4 or 5 different branches just off of that one issue.
Right, but there's supposed to be an actual meeting that's taking place right now, currently.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that because I didn't do any follow-up after the fact.
Because when you read it, that's what it said, that they were starting to meet. And would you like to have someone representing you on that committee?
That's what I recall as well, that they were kind of looking, it seemed like they were looking for representation from our group.
Exactly.
With those groups and provide input. Not, I don't know that we would be an official member of the committee, but at least that they wanted our input.
And I picked 3 or 4 of them that I want to start, that I thought I was going to get. Again, I didn't follow up, but I thought I would get the information during this past month to start getting on those calls. So those are calls. They're calls or they're Zooms.
Yeah, so here's what it says. This is dated July 2nd. The county has asked me to reach out to the committee members to see if there's any interest in having disability representation for the following policy program decisions that the county is currently reviewing. And then it was the rental and utility assistance, the antigen, and then the vaccination. And Friday, July 16th, they were having a telebriefing on the older and disability sector. And I didn't hear back from anybody. I sent the email, but I didn't actually, no one responded. And then Michelle, I called you with the information. But I don't know, Todd, are these meetings still taking place or have they stopped?
So let's see, am I muted? Let me see.
I can forward this to you.
Okay, so the I don't know what you saw, but I do know on a weekly basis there is an email, and this is what we when we had the Aging and Independence Services group come to speak to us, they gave us the email or how to subscribe to that weekly email. And that weekly email talks about sessions where people can log in and listen to what activities are going on, to the program debriefings. If that's what you're talking about, then that is an ongoing activity. It's not specifically looking for feedback or input on programs, but it's as you mentioned, the older adult and disability sector, and it's a COVID-19 weekly update that they send out on a weekly basis. Actually, it even
I won't be able to access it on email. So one of the things they should consider doing is having it be a call or put out the information in some other format. But this was not that. This was specifically the committees that were being set up to go over at least 16 different specific issues or policies that were being revamped. And those were the ones that Kay read to me.
Yep.
And that's what I'm looking for is the information.
So the strategic plan, they're 2 separate things, Michelle. The strategic plan initiatives, I read to you, but no one asked us to participate with any of those strategic plan initiatives. What they asked us to participate in was the email that I just read. So they're two separate two separate action items.
Now there also is, and I don't know if this is what Michelle is speaking to, but there is the legislative agenda. And I sent that over to you, Kay, back a while ago. And the county was looking, or it was, and I have to check the time frames, but the county was looking for input on the legislative agenda. And I felt that it would be, it might be good for the Committee for Persons with Disabilities to have an opportunity to input on that.
Right. And I think it would be if anybody's interested. I did get the one that says you wanted to make sure the members on the committee had the information on the adult with disabilities, which is the one I forwarded. So if I was supposed to send that too and I didn't, I apologize, because I just sent the older adults. And Michelle, I'm looking at the proposed 2021 to 2026 strategic plan, which is the one I read you. And you're right, they have like building better health, and under building better health, they have objections, and then they have operational excellence. And then we talked about some of the objectives they have under operational, and then they have sustainable environments. And then we talked about a little bit about that. So there's quite a lot on here.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about the legislative agenda. Again, when Katie calls me, she just reads me the agenda. So I don't know what Todd, maybe Todd, when you're sending it out, you could at least give me a call so I'm, that I'm not being left out. If it's just being sent out by email.
Well, and I think a lot of the problem too is that between Katie and myself, we haven't really identified who's responsible for keeping you up to date. And so when Todd sends something to me and he says, can you pass this on to the committee? I try to give you a courtesy call and give you the same information that I'm giving everybody else. But I don't always do that. So maybe it would be better, Todd, if Katie is the point of contact and handles the communication with Michelle.
Or if when Todd's sending something to you, he also calls me. That way, at least I know that there's something that's I need to be proactive about.
Well, what I do is I want to ensure that we don't have too many cooks in the kitchen. So I will coordinate with Kay and have Kay coordinate with the committee, because we want to make sure that we are doing, that we're following the proper protocol for transparency basis. So I want to make sure that.
So Todd, okay, but I'm going to say, I think that's what's part of stressing Kay. Kay is not paid. And if I'm asking you for an accommodation, that if you're sending something out to a committee I am on, that you make a phone call just to let me know that is, rather than placing it all on Kay, who is a volunteer in this situation. That would be at least taking up some of the burden. And again, it's an accommodation that I'm directly asking.
I hate to do this, but my board member is here. I have a 3:45
Okay.
appointment. I'm just going to sign off, but
Yeah, go ahead, Kay. I'll give you a call.
What about Todd? If Katie's the one who is keeping Michelle in the loop on the communication, what about if you just coordinated directly with Katie for anything that needs to be passed along?
We will continue to, I'll work with Kate and Kay to ensure that, because Kay is the chair, we also do have Rakina, who's the vice chair. So I do not want to communicate something to the committee that is not okayed through the chair.
Got
So
it.
I
Got
will
it.
not
Okay.
be communicating with the committee without without the chair and vice chair making that communication.
Makes sense. Okay.
Well, then you should send it to Rakina as well. But I don't honestly think that that follows that if somebody is on a committee, because that was honestly part of the frustration I had when you talked to Rich, and I didn't even know that was going on, and I'm desperately trying to find food. And you never reached out, and obviously he didn't, to the other people. I mean, I'm being appointed by Nathan Fletcher, not from, you know, whatever the other people are being appointed. We're being appointed directly. So the fact that a county employee is not reaching out to Nathan's district, because that's really what that meant. It meant that I was struggling to find food, and the only outreach you made was somebody who has some name that the supervisors did not name. So I don't think that that's fair. The supervisors have appointed specific people. Minimum, I think that you can do and should do is make sure that those supervisorial districts are directly reached out to with information that is related to persons with disabilities, which is specifically why Nathan has me on this committee. I don't think that's unreasonable. You're going on a protocol, but you're not looking at my challenges. You're not looking at the fact that I'm not getting that information. And it's not fair to place the burden on a volunteer when you are paid and there's paid staff.
I'm understanding the frustration that you've got, Michelle. I am paid to be the liaison with the committee. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of my perspective on it. I don't want to communicate anything offline or out of line, and I need to make sure that I am consistent with the committee's activities. And I have to do that through the chair and the vice chair. So I hear what you're saying. You're thinking that it's unfortunately you feel that it's not fair. I don't know. I was not aware of an issue with your personal experiences until we had that call but we went when topics come up, we bring the experts in, and when we brought the experts in, you voiced your experiences, and but that was your personal experiences. We now I'm not a case manager. We have case managers in HHSA, and we would want to make sure that people that have needs are able to connect with those people, those resources. So I want to make sure you're aware that of my role and what I'm able to do. I understand, I hear what you're saying, but I want you to sort of understand what I'm called to do as well.
Well, the time that I'm talking about is when you canceled all those meetings, right when the pandemic hit, right when people like me needed that access. You canceled them for 4 months. And it wasn't until I started going and speaking at the Board of Supervisors and literally contacting each supervisor directly, that got changed. But every time I tried to reach, it's like, oh, there's no meeting. It was canceled. That was in your hands.
Actually,
yes,
it's not. But I understand, and I know that we're getting. Is Rakina on the call? Because we do need to have a chair for the call. But Michelle, I understand your perspectives and the way you feel. But I never canceled any meeting. That's not in my authority to cancel a meeting. What we did was we contacted the chair and we said, should we have a meeting? And the decision was made to either postpone the meetings or start going to teleconference. But I understand your perspective. I just want to make sure that the way you communicate it is accurately reflecting, because I know that I know what I have heard, and I know what I may hear in the near future. But I would like for you to be able to communicate it accurately versus miscommunicating. I want us all to be able to work well together.
So the
Can I make
communication
a,
be more direct.
Michelle, can I
Go
make
ahead.
a suggestion for the next meeting? That let's talk about how there can be a way to communicate. So similar to where there's Ready San Diego, that people can go on the phone, and if there's a fire in the area, they receive a text message. But there's also like through the San Diego Regional Center, people with disabilities, I'm on like a phone where they call and they leave a voice message on it. And so I'm wondering if there's not a way, and then I don't think that's appropriate for today, but maybe to put on the agenda for next time, that when there's something going on in the county that's some type of emergency, is there a telephone log or is there a mass text? But then people that cannot receive a text, is there a voicemail? Is there some way to communicate to everybody? Because it's already being done, like I said, for fires. It's already being done at the regional center. So it's already being done in pieces. And I'm wondering if there's a way to bring all those pieces together. And so, Todd, can we make sure that's on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
Wayne, do you have that?
Yes, I had put communication process during a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's fine, but that does not take care of this committee, because that was a decision that was made, that I was informed by the county that they had canceled our meetings. So there was never a direct, I'm talking about respect on this committee, and that all the committee members should be informed, not just going through one piece. And so again,
my perspective of it is different than your perspective of it, because my understanding at the time, first of all, we had never been through a pandemic or anything like this before. And we were told that only emergency services were being utilized, and everything else in the county, everything everywhere was shut down. And so when my perspective or understanding of emergency services was pretty much life or death. Is it a health issue? And so I hear what you're saying, Michelle, that it was to you an emergency because you were unaware of a food, which is obviously an emergency. But then how do we make sure that everybody is aware, not just our committee, but
right,
everybody with disabilities?
Because that was the whole reason I'm on this committee, is because I do outreach. But it's more than that. It's that every other committee, well, maybe not every other committee, but at least 7 committees that I personally have friends that serve on, they were all meeting in March, April, and May. They made sure they were meeting, exactly because it was a pandemic. And this, of all committees, should have been meeting. That's where it's different. So obviously Nathan Fletcher's office was shocked. That's why when I started making comments, they were all in support, and then they started calling other supervisorial officers. So it's not just, you know, everybody was making phone calls. There was no reason
Yes.
not to have a teleconference as a minimum.
What it is done. How do we move forward, and how do we make sure there's better communication in an emergency situation in the future for all people with disabilities?
And that's fine, but I'm not even talking just about emergency. I'm talking about Todd giving me reasonable accommodation when he's sending things out that I'm now learning came out months ago and I've not been privy to. So whether that was, you know, a mistake or case, that's fine. But that to me is information that should be given to the full committee. It is county information. It's not secret. And it should be passed on to the entire committee. And what I'm asking is when he's sending out an email, that I get a phone call. So then I can follow it up, which I'm happy to do.
Now, my understanding has been that after an email, that we're receiving an email and that we're addressing everything in the meeting. Are we getting other information that I need to be aware of that we have not addressed in a meeting?
Apparently, yes. This information about legislative priorities, there was a whole lot of information that was in the strategic report that I obviously didn't know anything about. So apparently there's a number of things that have been coming out, and even Kay said that she sent out emails, but I don't know anything about emails.
Okay, so I think that's something we should talk about at the next meeting also, that anything that's coming out in an email, that we're also verbally discussing it at the meetings, and that it's not just an email and then it goes off into space somewhere, that it's a targeted email in terms of us addressing it at the next meeting.
So I don't want it just addressed. I want to be in the same position as everybody else is. If they get that email a month in advance, I should have it read to me with the attachments so that I can read the same way as anyone else can. It's not fair for me to just show up at the meeting and then be told, oh, well, we have these 14 pages of strategic. I made up that number. I have no idea how many pages. She just said it was pages. But I should have in advance, just like anybody else does.
Yes.
So that's where my frustration is. And if it's through one person who, in this case, made a mistake, but in the case before that, you know, made a decision that he did not have the right to make. One person on a committee does not have the right to close down the committee, especially during an emergency. And Nathan Fletcher was very clear about that. Maybe that's something that needs to get brought up as an item. I don't mind going through Nora, make it an item that county employees don't get to do that. They don't get to cancel a meeting by contacting one person. A majority of the committee, yes, but definitely not with one person. That's where my frustration is. Especially when it's someone that doesn't reach out. So again, that's why I was trying to at least get a commitment that things aren't going to continue to keep going out. Because now I want to see every single thing that's on the legislative thing that Todd sent out. That should not be.
Michelle, I'm back now, and I caught the tail end of this, and I went into my computer and I did send the legislative information to the committee. I can't help it if the committee doesn't read what I send them, and I can't help it if they don't respond. Now, you are a different story. Somebody should be calling you, you're correct, whether it's me, and I don't think it's Todd's responsibility. I think it's probably Kate's, but one of us should be calling you and giving you the same exact information that we sent to the committee. But Susie and Sherry and Rakina and Jessica have all received the legislative action information, and they have all received the strategic planning summary more than once. So we can't sit here and say, well, this is the county's failing. And it's not my failing, and I'm not going to take responsibility for it. But I will commit to you that moving forward, we will make sure that whatever is being passed along to me, that somebody from the county or myself is bringing you up to speed in a timely manner. So you have the same exact information the rest of the committee gets.
And I totally know that you feel that and you want
Hello.
that. I do know that. My frustration isn't directly with you. It's just when I asked Todd to like, let me know so that I can follow it up and know that there's something that was sent out. That was all. I know that you always try. I don't have a concern with that.
I mean, and maybe email is not the most effective way to communicate with this committee. Maybe if we don't want to meet in person and do handouts and discuss things face to face, we're really restricted to passing documentation by email. It's not cost effective for I'm certainly not going to print the legislative initiatives from the county and put them in an envelope and mail them to everybody. I think when I send an email, I expect people to read it, but if they don't, they don't. So maybe we need to find a better way to communicate with the committee.
No, I agree that the email is effective, except for me. I get that. My frustration was just my frustration, Kay, is when something gets stopped because one person, whoever that person is, and as much as I have complete faith in you, and I do, when Richard just made a decision that, oh, we don't need to meet, and then Todd just took that, and Nathan Fletcher said that is not the ability of a county employee to just cancel meetings of a committee, especially something like a person with disabilities when there's an emergency going on. So again, the fact that it shouldn't be just a decision of one person.
But 2 months ago, we had it on the agenda, whether we were wanting to meet again in person, and you and the other committees unanimously decided that they wanted to continue to meet by Zoom. If we need to revisit that, we can.
No, I'm not saying we need to meet in person. I'm sorry. I was just saying that I don't want it decided based on one person.
Right,
That
and
was
I
going
agree.
back to-
And I agree.
That's all.
All right, I'm going to adjourn the meeting unless there's any other discussion.
Yes, I'm here. Hello?
Hi, Susie.
Well, you really have turned me off. I have been listening to all this, and it's rather upsetting that people are not getting notified.
I'm not hearing her anymore. Is there everyone else?
No, she accidentally muted herself.
The only other thing I did want to bring up around the food scarcity is that the Great Plates program and
Take it. Hello?
Hi, you're back. We lost
Yes.
you for a while, Susie.
Well, I'm in the elevator again.
was just to put the Great Plates program on the agenda coming up.
Okay. You got that right, Elaine?
I have to excuse
Yes.
myself. I have a 4 o'clock meeting that I'm late for. So I look forward to furthering the discussion at our next meeting, and everybody have a great weekend. Bye.
You too. I think that, I think we lost Susie again.
And I don't know if Elaine heard that before she left about the Great Plates.
I got it. I've added it to the agenda. Yeah, it's there.
That's good.
So Susie was stuck in the elevator, got off the elevator, and now she's stuck back in the elevator again. Is that what happened?
We have no idea if she got out or if she was still there or what.
All right, well, we're going to adjourn the meeting, and Susie, if you can hear us and you want to express your concerns offline, you can call me anytime. And that's it. So have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks. Yeah.